On the morning of June 30th, 1908, the sky over a remote Siberian forest split apart. A blinding flash, brighter than the sun, was followed by a wave of heat so intense it set clothes on fire miles away. Moments later, a shock wave erupted with the force of 1,000 atomic bombs, flattening over 2,000 square kilometers of taiga, an area larger than modern-day London. Trees were scorched and knocked down in a radial pattern, all pointing away from a central, terrifying epicenter. This was the Tunguska event, the largest impact event in recorded human history, and for over a century, it has remained one of science's greatest and most captivating mysteries. What happened on that fateful morning in the middle of nowhere? Join us as we journey into the heart of Siberia to uncover the truth behind the Tunguska explosion. For years, the event went largely uninvestigated. The region was incredibly remote, and Russia was soon consumed by war and revolution. It wasn't until 1927 that the first scientific expedition, led by mineralogist Leonid Kulik, finally reached the site. Kulik was expecting to find a massive crater, the telltale sign of a meteorite impact. He'd spent years searching for it, funded by the belief that a giant iron meteorite could be salvaged and studied. But when he and his team arrived at the epicenter, they found something baffling. There was no crater, just a vast, eerie telegraph pole forest, where trees stood upright but were stripped of their branches and bark. The ground was swampy and undisturbed. The impactor, whatever it was, seemed to have vanished without a trace. This missing crater was the seed from which a forest of speculation would grow. Kulik himself spent the rest of his life convinced a crater was hidden beneath the marsh, but he never found it. His expeditions did, however, meticulously document the incredible scale of the devastation. They mapped the butterfly-shaped pattern of the flattened forest, interviewed local Evenki people who spoke of a fire god descending from the sky, and collected samples of soil and scorched wood. But the central question remained: if it wasn't a solid meteorite that hit the ground, what was it? The evidence pointed to something that had exploded in the air, several kilometers above the surface. This is what we call an airburst. The sheer power of the explosion, estimated to be between 10 and 15 megatons of TNT, obliterated the object before it could ever touch the Earth. So, what could cause such a colossal mid-air explosion? The leading scientific theory today points to a celestial visitor, a stony asteroid, or a small comet. An asteroid, about 50 to 60 meters in diameter, entering the atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, would have experienced immense pressure and heat. This would cause it to rapidly disintegrate and explode, releasing its kinetic energy in a single catastrophic flash. A comet, composed of ice and dust, would behave similarly, vaporizing in a brilliant, violent burst. This airburst model perfectly explains the lack of a crater, the pattern of fallen trees, and the intense thermal radiation that scorched the landscape. The shock wave did the damage, not a physical impact. In the decades since Kulik's first journey, scientists have found more subtle clues supporting this theory. In the 1960s, researchers analyzing peat layers from the area found microscopic spherules of melted rock and metal, rich in nickel and iridium, elements common in asteroids but rare in Earth's crust. These tiny droplets are believed to be condensed vapor from the exploded object, which rained down over the forest after the blast. Later studies of tree rings from the era show evidence of accelerated growth after 1908, possibly due to increased light from the fallen canopy and fertilization from nitrogen compounds formed in the fiery explosion. The puzzle pieces, collected over a century, all point towards an extraterrestrial object that met a fiery end high above Siberia. But where science provides a plausible explanation, the absence of a smoking gun, a definitive crater or large fragments, has left the door wide open for more imaginative and extraordinary theories. For a mystery this grand human nature demands equally grand explanations. And this is where the Tunguska event truly enters the realm of myth and legend. One of the most popular and enduring alternative theories involves alien technology. In 1946, a Soviet science fiction writer named Alexander Kazantsev proposed that the Tunguska explosion wasn't a natural event at all, but the result of an alien spaceship exploding. He suggested that a nuclear-powered craft, attempting to land or perhaps experiencing a catastrophic malfunction, detonated above the forest. This idea captured the public's imagination during the Cold War and the dawn of the UFO era. Why a remote Siberian forest? Proponents suggested the aliens chose the unpopulated area to minimize harm, or that they were trying to draw water from Lake Baikal. The lack of a crater was no longer a problem, it was evidence. A controlled mid-air detonation would leave no impact site. This theory, while exciting, has absolutely no scientific evidence to support it. No spaceship fragments, no unusual radiation beyond what's expected from cosmic dust, nothing to suggest anything other than a natural object. Yet, the idea of a crashed UFO in Tunguska remains a cornerstone of modern UFO mythology, a testament to our fascination with the possibility of visitors from other worlds. But the myths don't stop with aliens. Another, more fringe theory blames the brilliant inventor Nikola Tesla. At the time of the Tunguska event, Tesla was working at his Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, experimenting with the wireless transmission of energy on a global scale. Could he have accidentally or intentionally unleashed a powerful beam of energy that targeted Siberia? The idea is tantalizing. Tesla was a genius far ahead of his time, and his ambitions were world-changing. However, the timeline just doesn't add up. By 1908, the Wardenclyffe project was largely defunct due to a lack of funding, and there is no record that Tesla was conducting any large-scale experiments at the time. Furthermore, the physics required to project such a devastating and focused energy beam across continents remains far beyond even our current capabilities, let alone what was possible over a century ago. The Tesla theory is a fascinating what-if, but it belongs firmly in the category of historical fiction, not scientific fact. And then there are the even more exotic explanations. Some have proposed that a tiny black hole passed through the Earth, entering at Tunguska and exiting on the other side of the planet. But this would have caused a clear exit wound and seismic disturbances that were never detected. Another idea suggests a collision with a chunk of antimatter, which would have annihilated on contact with our matter atmosphere, releasing pure energy. Again, while theoretically possible, this would have produced a very specific gamma-ray signature that has never been found in the geological record. These theories, while intellectually stimulating, create more problems than they solve, and lack the supporting evidence that the asteroid or comet hypothesis has steadily accumulated over the decades. So, after more than a century of investigation, expeditions, and wild speculation, what can we say for sure? The overwhelming scientific consensus is that the Tunguska event was caused by the airburst of a large meteoroid or a small comet. It was a natural, albeit terrifying, cosmic event. It serves as a stark reminder that our planet exists in a cosmic shooting gallery. Objects from space have shaped our world's history, and they will continue to do so. The Tunguska event was a wake-up call. It demonstrated that even a relatively small object, too small to be seen by telescopes of the day, could unleash devastation on the scale of a major city. Had it arrived just a few hours later, it could have exploded over St. Petersburg or another major European capital, changing the course of 20th century history forever. Today, programs like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office actively scan the skies, tracking near-Earth objects to give us warning of any potential threats. We are no longer blind to the dangers from above. The mystery of Tunguska, while largely solved in scientific circles, continues to inspire awe and wonder. It's a story about the immense power of nature, the persistence of scientific inquiry, and the limitless power of human imagination to fill in the gaps of our knowledge. The silent, recovering forests of Siberia hold the memory of that fiery day, a quiet monument to the day the sky fell. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries. What do you think happened at Tunguska? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. See you next time.